Hi, this is David Odell with OdellCompleteConcrete. Today we're going to widen this patio area. We're going to get rid of the planters, the dirt planter area. We're on the outside edge of this existing concrete. Then what's going to happen is they're going to put some tile. They're going to put 12-inch square tile over the top. And I believe it's a Spanish tile they're going to be using. Here's some existing drain holes that go through the wall for drainage, so we're gonna tie into those and bring up an area drain. I'm gonna use an adjustable area drain so we can adjust the height, or the guy that's setting the tile can adjust the height of the drain depending on how he wants to set his tile. So here's the other drain, and that's a 2-inch ABS pipe that I really can't glue anything to because it doesn't stick out far enough, so I'm going to go with 1.5 inches and just run it through. Now those posts from the existing patio are sitting on a separate block concrete foundation, and the actual post strap is just high enough so that the concrete won't be around the wood, although the tile will still be around the wood. So but that's a whole different thing to deal with. So this job was very difficult to get in the backyard. It's kind of like townhouses here. All the houses are connected together, so there's no side yard to come from the front to the back. You actually have to go walk around about 4 units before you can find a space to get in the backyard. Then you go through like the public courtyard area in the back and hike through up a hill, because these are split level houses. So the driveway is at the first floor, and then there's 2 floors to get to where we are right here. So there's a hill in between these townhouses that we have to hike up to bring the concrete around. Here's a layout for the rebar. I'm just going to drill into this. Especially when you're doing tile, it's crucial that when you have 2 separate pieces of concrete, that they don't move on that joint. Because if they do move on that joint, that crack or that movement will reflect right through the tile or any top surface. Like if you were doing an overlay on this, there's a lot of different overlays. If the 2 concrete pieces aren't tied together really solid, then that crack will reflect straight up through whatever's on top of it. So what we're going to do is dowel in, and you could even epoxy in these dowels, but I'm just going to do a 3/8 hole and a 3/8 rebar, and take an 8-pound sledgehammer and drive them in. They won't come out. Now we're going to do a little raised planter around this tree. Just another little detail, and the tile will go up this little raised planter wall that I'm going to build here. It's going to be a raised planter wall 7 inches, and I'm going to make it 4 inches wide. So the tiles are 12 inches, so that means they're going to have to cut the tile, and then the width of the wall is 4 inches, so that's another cut. But it's going to look fine. So when you're dealing with the tile that's square, of course you're going to want to make your planter square. So here's what I came up with these drains, because we had the existing hole to go through. I've got me a little 4-inch square drain, and it has a screw in, and it's adjustable depending on how far you screw it down or up. Since these drain holes are pretty high, I had to do some customization on these pipes and on these 90s to drop it in there and still have the right height for the drain cap. I'm trying some new glue here, and it's a green glue, and supposedly this particular kind of glue is good for ABS and PVC. So if you were doing a transition fitting like from ABS to PVC, this is the kind of glue you'd want, this green glue. I haven't seen that before, but something new, relatively new, I believe. And it's nice to get combination glues that work. Saves you carrying a lot of extra glues for specific things. So I'm going to duct tape these two fittings together. And then I'm going to put the concrete around it. And once the concrete goes around it, it can't move anymore. So that makes a nice tight joint. So we've already drove those dowels in, as you can see there. I had to cut them short dowels because if you go full length, which would have been kind of ideal to go full length from the concrete to the wall, but then you couldn't drive them in. Then you'd have to get back to the epoxy situation. Then you could just put them in there and you wouldn't have to pound on them. But I cut them short so we could hit them with a sledge, and then we'll just extend them with some short board. But here's the hillside I was talking about. Now, the first day we didn't have any football cleats, so fortunately my son both of my sons were in football and they still had their cleats. So then the second day we brought the football cleats and we could go right up this hill real easy. But the first day we're using a rope and we're pulling the wheelbarrow. We attach a rope to the front of the wheelbarrow and we pull them up the hill. And we could do about 3 90-pounders at a time up that hill. Couldn't run the pump around here because it's about 500 feet. I mean, there is pumps that can do it, but you can run into a lot of potential problems running a pump 500 feet. So we decided to eliminate any possible problems, and we just do it the old-fashioned way. Here's your raised form. Of course, I'm going to oil that with some used Mobil 1 synthetic. That I save all the oil from my truck, of course, for all wood. And I love that synthetic because it's environmental friendly, I believe. Otherwise, they probably wouldn't have made it. So that's the bottom flange of that adjustable drain cap. So we have about a good 1.5 inches of a play in the height of that drain. So depending on what height they set that tile at, they're gonna dial it right in. Now we're setting these levels. I'm working it around the corner here because there's one opening in that wall that we've been coming through, and so I'm trying to work all the drainage to go out that wall just in case the drains can't handle the capacity of water. It can still end up going out that one opening without going into the house. So as you can see here, we got some 4500 psi, and that's a Blue Hawk brand. So you really don't have to do a whole lot to it. You just add water and mix it and it finishes beautifully. And that's why I get this type of concrete, because it really takes the effort out of trying to customize it. It's already customized. This type of concrete mix, you can lay it down once. As you can see there, it's got a lot of cream. Not too much aggregate. It's got some fines in it, so you can juice it up and get a nice finish on it. So we ended up bringing each pallet of those 90-pounders. We have 35 bags per pallet, so We brought up 2 pallets. We brought up 70 bags. Since we're going deep, we're going 5 inches also on all this concrete. So we actually went over. So we went about 2 yards plus. We went 2 pallets plus another additional 10 bags. So it's right at 2 yards. Each pallet's just under. Whether you go with 60-pound pallets or 90s, you're just like 6 cubic feet or 5 cubic feet under a yard. So basically, if you get a pallet of 60s or 90s, you're real close to a yard of concrete. So that makes it real easy to do calculations. We've got we laid a blue tarp over this existing concrete patio because this is a pretty messy application when you've got a tight space like this and you're mixing concrete. I'm just going to finish this pretty much normal like I normally do. It's going to look real nice and flat. I mean, if they don't put tile on it, so be it. It's still going to look good, you know, for the time being until they do decide to put tile. But if they do put tile on it, that's fine also. I mean, you could wait a few weeks on this and it's not going to be an eyesore, but you could get away with just putting a hand float finish, or you could leave it just like this, you know, just a quick hand float, walk away, let it dry, let it crack, lay the tile on it. But we're gonna trowel it out, edge it, the whole works. Makes a better video too. Now on this little raised planter, I'm not going to take the form out today on this because it was just a little bit too wet. And since it's just a 4-inch and it's a mono, it's got to be pretty hard before you can pull that form, or otherwise that little 4-inch sliver may want to lean over on you. So I'll leave that form in. And then what I'll do is I'll stick my trowel under there 1.5 inches underneath the bottom of that form. I'll stick it under there till it bottoms out. And that gives me about 1.5 inches, and that's pretty much the thickness of the piece of wood. So that clears me on the bottom. And then I can come back the next day, just knock the form out, and it's all finished underneath all the way to the wall. Although it doesn't matter in this situation with the tile. But we're gonna do it, you know, nice every time. Here's my son, a year into it approximately, and he can lay it down now. He's almost a finisher. Another year, I could probably watch him rot it out and finish it. Now, on the finishing technique, if you're interested in like the timing of these different steps that we're going through finishing the concrete, some people that are really interested in the finishing steps, or people that are probably doing it for a living. I noticed most of my subscribers, or 95% of them, are male. So, you know, they're guys that are really kind of interested in doing this kind of work, or maybe progressing where they work, learning these techniques. And I have a Patreon account where you can really get some detailed information in the steps of this. So that we shot an extra video specifically for that. Took a little extra time and stuff, but I wanted to really break it down hardcore so you can see the timing in finishing techniques so you could become a good concrete finisher if that's what you want to do. If you don't really want to be a great concrete finisher, then these videos on YouTube is probably good enough for you, you know, if you're going to do a one-timer. But if you want to do it as a career, you probably want to check out the Patreon account, because I'm going to really get more descriptive and finishing techniques, timing, things of that nature. Even I'm going to get into estimating, the whole works on there. But you know, for the YouTube channel, of course, it's going to stay the same, and it may be good enough for you for what you're looking for. But if you really want more details, we're shooting with another camera just to really break it down hard. You can see how those are adjustable. The further you thread those drain caps in, you know, the lower they go, and then you can raise them or lower them. So this is all dependent on upon the tile setter. A good tile setter is probably gonna raise up the back side along the house and get good positive drainage toward the drains, and he can adjust those at any height he wants. Well, thank you for watching the video, and if you like it, subscribe. If you want to get the latest and greatest as they roll out, hit the bell and you'll be notified. If you have any questions or comments, don't hesitate to contact me via email or phone. Have a good one. Bye.